you please welcome from a place called Winnipeg. I've been talking to Grease monkeys. I've been working on cars.
What a fucking tune, man.
Killer.
Great tune.
Probably the only song where they say Moosamin
Ever.
ever.
And combine it with, and definitely the only song that has Moosamin and Moose Jaw.
And again, hanging around gas stations.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, it's good to be back. Welcome to Winnipeggers. And this is our first show that we've done in a while because we did the first cars last week, which is a good bounce back for our ratings. It was pretty strong after our highest rated show ever, the Idiot Olympics, which was a huge success. Just by the number that it drew. We had almost 20,000 people plus listening in, which is what I was hoping for. I was hoping we would get about that. So it's about double to triple our normal audience. I should have went full on wrestling and said we have over 100,000 people listening to it. But listen, we're building this organically, so we're not gonna bullshit, Jay. We're telling you we built this show up from nothing, and that's a pretty good deal. So I thought the Idiot Olympics was pretty awesome.
It proves there's lots of idiots out there.
That's true.
Look at me, look I got like a lightsaber right there.
Oh, very cool. Disco Mike.
Tiny little cute little lightsaber there.
You know what they say about tiny little lightsabers? Tiny little lightsaber holders. Anyways,
I see your Schwartz is a lot shorter than mine.
Yes, Idiot Olympics very much a success. Did you enjoy the show, Dave?
I did. We all threw a few ideas together and then we went with it. And as we know, we had a little trouble with one. Mine was how many hard-boiled eggs you could put in your mouth at one time, which actually, in retrospect, is such a stupid idea. It fits with the Idiot Olympics for sure. Right. But somebody wrote on the chat line, "Why didn't you just use marshmallows? It looks identical, way easier, and it's not egg." Like egg all.
You were adamant about that one. Like we must do it. So downstairs, I actually just had a couple right now. They have hard-boiled eggs at the little restaurant down there. And tonight they had like 15 of these, but when I went down there was only 2. So I had to use 2 and then a pancake. So I was hoping I wouldn't get disqualified for that.
Yeah.
Actually.
No, that was idiotic as well. Anything goes.
Anything that fit. There was
I didn't know how hard that was going to be. I could only get one in my mouth. I had only one, and I tried to put one in my cheek, and then
Oh, I know, and they're just moving out. Yeah, they're flying all over the place.
Well, the whole room just smelt like eggs.
Yeah, and hard-boiled eggs aren't an easy sell to begin with, and those things they're this big. So how many did you expect you could put in your mouth?
I got 5 in there, I think, before they fell out into my bucket that I already had prepared myself with.
On the show?
On the show, yeah. There was a lot of feedback saying I won, but let's just leave it at that. I don't need to win.
Well, Joshua Blake said he lives in Hopewell, Virginia. That's a long way from the peg. He said, Dave, you should have won that. It's rigged. Kind of like the election. No, just joking. Awesome show, though. Thanks for the entertainment.
Yeah, so it was like rock, paper, scissors with Rybo. Here was Ryan. Everyone else stayed up here with the camera. Ryan did it down here, waited for the result, and then went paper.
and it were always kind of a little bit off sync too, so be like paper.
Yeah,
it was so off sync. It was just ridiculous. I could hear you go 1. It was like 1.
Okay, let's try it now just to see if it'll work. I'll go 1, 2, 3, and then you do it. But let's just see if we're in time or not. Okay, ready?
All 3 of us. Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
How was paper?
Look at that, Winnipeggers all think the same.
Hold on, let me do it on 3, and you guys, when I hit 3, you guys do it. Let's see what time we're in. Okay.
Paper.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. I'm the first ones. Okay. So whoever's talking, you guys hear it like a split second later, which is why the yams never work, because
Right.
you guys are like 2 seconds behind me.
Even
but yet
my,
when we're talking, we're all at the same time.
even my DTs are delayed. I'm trying to do rock, paper. I need a drink. I need a drink.
What are you, the Cisco kid? My hand's getting a little shaky. There's nothing wrong with that hand. Problem is, I shoot with this one at Blazing Saddles. Anyone? Listen, that's two Mel Brooks references in one show right off the bat.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty good.
I wanted to ask Dave, how did he prepare to get that many eggs in his mouth at once? I think we all know the answer to that.
Take and put it in my mouth. As you can see, too, I'm going to just pop this up so you guys, you might be wondering where I got this cool shirt. This is a Painmaker is my new clothing line, which goes on sale on Black Friday. And there's a whole bunch of designs, and you can find that at painmaker.store. So if you check that out, if you like this design, there's plenty more where that came from. So this is actually the first peak of any Painmaker wear. So there you go. Did you ever think I'd have my own clothing line, Dave?
No, I didn't think you'd amount to anything, actually.
But let's bring up our sponsor this week. And listen, this is great because this is actually we were looking at on a secret. Some of our sponsors aren't real, or they aren't existing anymore. We actually have had 3 sponsors that have been a part of our show, and we appreciate them. Was it TAW Wrestling, and then we had Ryan Knight's wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
And then now we have a great French restaurant, and this is real, in Winnipeg. It's called the Promenade. And the Promenade is fine French dining, I believe. And it's the funny thing is it's run by an old friend of mine, Sean Branson, who did steal my Nasty Class tape years ago, even though he claims that he lost it in a car fire or something along those lines. But they're having some problems, as you can tell, just because of the pandemic, obviously. So especially now in Winnipeg, there's a big lockdown, which a lot of states have experienced. And now Winnipeg's going through it. So it's the Promenade Cafe. It's a French restaurant in Winnipeg, French comfort food, open for curbside pickup and home delivery. And you actually had some information that Sean had written, and I would hope that you would have that pulled up because I asked you to help me. Oh,
yeah, I mean, it's there's a promo code that we want you to use to deliver food.
Well, before we get there, I just want to say it's located right in the heart of St. Boniface. This is what I was talking about. This Promenade Cafe and Wine has been providing French comfort food and fine wines to our community since 2011. So if you live in the Winnipeg area, or Steinbach, or Grand Beach, or whatever you're talking about there, Westwood, St. James,
Winnipeg,
Winnipeg. So they're forced to deliver only home delivery or curbside, and they are promoting Promenade at home. And what are they going to do if you hear this ad and order from the Promenade? What are they going to do, Dave?
10 points off, 10% right across your food order. Promo code Winnipeggers, all caps. It's not really showing on the screen there. I don't know if you can pull it up, but it's fine. Winnipeggers is the promo code. Oh, you have it on the scroll. You've already put it on the banner. You're ahead of me. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't think it really needs to be in caps. You just have to write Winnipeggers. So when you order something, when you go to check out, there'll be a place for codes. If you pop in Winnipeggers, you get 10% off. Thanks to all of us here. Thanks to Spewy, Ribo, and Irvas right here. PromenadeAtHome.com, and the promo code is Winnipeggers. Great stuff. Have you ever eaten at the Promenade, Ribo?
I have not been there yet, but I'm going to go there because I'm going to get 10% off. So for sure, I'm going to try it out now.
With the code, yeah.
But you don't even have to go there. You just call them, and they bring it to your house.
Nice.
So looks like some good stuff. I name. Let's try and name as many French foods as we can. So we go in order, and the last man standing wins. It's like
another Olympics.
so I'm not saying this to be a smart ass, but I'm going to say. Actually, I'm going to say that one. Soufflé.
Oh wow.
I'll go next. French fries.
That's what I was gonna say. Did
Poop
you just say that like Gabe Halderson? French fries.
French fries.
Hey, look, I've heard that for French fries.
Like 6 S's in there.
Dave?
Poop the grass. You know, I had a French teacher in elementary school who literally pulled me out of the classroom with 2 other kids and said, "You'll never learn the language of French and you'll be in jail when you're older." I'm not kidding. And then hit us with rulers. And, you know, and this, I never went to jail, by the way. So thanks, Mrs. Dufresne.
Oh, there you go. So ours was Mr. Tenalier, and Mr. Tenalier was like, he kind of looked like the guy who played Napoleon in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, if you recall. And he was more obsessed with looking at Roxanne Falk's ass, as were all of us. Shout out to Roxanne. Hopefully you run into her rival. Of all the people that we were scared of running into, hopefully you run into Roxanne Falk. And
From
Bev
behind.
Rutherford. What's that?
From
From
behind.
behind.
Yeah.
You know what I had what's that?
What are you, Lars?
Exactly. I had Tenelier as well, and I remember he would numerous times I would be sitting at my desk and I would say some smart ass remark, and he would just grab my desk and drag me out into the hall and then close the door and lock it.
Yeah.
Several times.
That was around the time they were trying to do French immersion. And I just remember like being such a dumb kid. I'm like, I'm half Ukrainian. How come there's not Ukrainian taught at school? And they just hated people like us. You know, it's like we're trying to be Canadian 2 languages. Yeah.
But yeah, so French, so we went through 3, one French food each, which is probably all right. I think it's not bad.
Yeah. Well, the promenade has lots of organic sourced Winnipeg source food, trout, some bread, some jams, really good French stuff, really good cuisine. Yeah.
Hard-boiled eggs.
How many trouts can you fit in your mouth at once, Dave?
One trout.
You know, we could almost do a show on teachers, because there's a lot of characters, but we'll save that for a different episode. Because today we're going to talk about something that I think Rybo brought this up. We've been waiting for Rybro to put up a topic, and I think we're going to go with pre-internet days. And the reason why this is interesting is now everything is so much based around internet and phones and Twitter and all this other stuff. Even to the point of all the, you know, elections and votes and all, it's all based on computers. But there was a time not too long ago, before these were invented, where you actually did things a lot differently. And the older we get, the further away those days seem. I mean, you guys have younger children. Are they obsessed with their phones and video games?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's terrible.
Totally,
yeah.
I mean, it's just pretty much nonstop at my house with 3 teenagers, where they literally just walk around watching everything on YouTube. I don't remember the last time that we watched movies, but as far as watching a TV show or something, those don't really exist. It's just all based around phones and what you can watch online.
Yeah,
you know, when you play hockey, they always say, don't have your head down. You got to keep your head up, or you're going to get hit, right? And people just walking around with their heads down all the time.
All those kids have their heads down, and they're all going to get hit.
They're all going to get hit, baby.
with life.
But the funny thing is, though, it's not just kids, because, I mean, we're guilty of it, too. I mean, you stop at a red light, and what's the first thing you do? I mean, probably not you, Rybo, because I think you just got an iPhone. You're probably still the most detached from the internet. We can talk about that, but you pull over at a red light, you got 30 seconds, look at your phone. Oh, someone's texting me. I better text them back right now. It's so much connected. Like if I took somebody's phone and if I threw it in the lake, it's like, what would you do? You would
die. You would just die. It'd be the worst feeling in the world. Yeah, the kids are going around with those Roblox games and Plants versus Zombies and stuff, just walking into walls. They're nuts, but we can't live without them either. That would be a massive panic attack if you did that.
Well, it's even from business, like who actually has an office now? You know, now your office, like I remember, for example, like Barry Boobs, he had an office for years. And he watches this, by the way. That's Stevie's nickname.
Sorry, Barry. It is not.
I don't even know why he even says that. I think it's just because he was drunk when he said it 10 years ago. but it's he had an office, and a bunch of people I know had offices. And now all those are gone. Now your office is basically just dealing with things on your phone. That's your office.
Yeah, it's true. Everything's changed so much, and yet there's a lot of good, I guess. There is a lot of good. I mean, information's power. You can work on your own car. You can do stuff around the house. You go on YouTube, you Google something, you find out stuff. You could never do that prior.
Yeah, it reminds me as soon as you said that of the prisoner, like, we want information. Who are you? And that it's so funny too, because there's so many times when you'll be on your phone, you'll listen to music or something like the new AC/DC, and suddenly what comes up on your phone is a Facebook ad for the new AC/DC record or something. That happens all the fucking time.
All the time.
And just even talking about it, Siri's always listening, and then suggestions come up, and you're just like, wow, I was just talking about that. Is that what's happening here, right?
And like I said, we could get into a whole different element of a show.
We could go off. I don't care about her, the information thing. Lord Gates, give me the juice. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm first in line. I'm not the last in line, baby. I'm first in line. Give me two of those.
Ain't talking about Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, and hopefully they do home delivery.
Lord Gates.
Well, like I said, let's leave these are all great shows, great topics, but let's go back to when we were kids. We're talking about our kids now. Ribo's son is, how old is he now? 8,
He's
6,
9, soon to be 10.
86.
86.
Yeah. And how old is your son, Dave?
Son-in-law, he is 8 years old. 8 years old, yeah.
He's not your son-in-law, by the way. That would be a completely different vibe, very creepy. Okay, so
sorry, Steps. I don't even. Yeah, he's the greatest kid in the world.
I guess he's your stepson, is what you'd say.
Yeah, I was single for a long, long time. I didn't realize the terminology or anything, but yeah, I'm very, very, very happy.
Because only married guys understand the term son-in-law. Anyways, so when we were kids, so you have two 8-year-olds. I got two 14-year-olds and a 17-year-old. So, but when we were let's go into these times, here's the number one thing, and then I'll throw it out to the panel of what is different nowadays. Number one is actually talking on the phone. That is becoming if you called me right now and you knew I was home and talking, I probably wouldn't answer.
That's actually true. You haven't answered in 3 years, actually.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah,
and even worse, you'll do a voice message blah, 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 blah. Instead of just hello.
Yeah, I know. It sucks. It's we can't even fight properly because you can just hide behind the phone and go, yeah, fuck you, prick. And then I'll phone, and then you just don't answer. I'm not saying specifically us, but I'm talking about us.
But I mean, that's one cool thing about having the StreamYards, and that's one of the few positives of this year. You don't even want to use the word positive. One of the few pluses of this year is that the advent of this technology, it is almost like talking on the phone, but it's even better because you can see each other. Yeah. And that also goes back to when we were kids, you would actually watch shows and collect, the action figures and all that stuff. I remember Star Trek, how insane it was that Captain Kirk would be sitting there talking to, a Klingon on the big screen, exactly the same way we're talking to each other now.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, phone calls was one. I mean, you would constantly be on the phone, putting together a party or talking to a girl or talking to your friends.
God. How about life before call waiting? How brutal that was. You got an older sister who's on the phone with her boyfriend and it's just lights out. Nobody gets through. Somebody died. Yeah, a week ago. Your daughter's been on the phone for 7 days. So it's so crazy, man. And how about here's an interesting one when I was thinking about this today. The dating scene is astronomical difference, okay? Because now you could go on, your Tinder or whatever it is, and you could be on a date on Friday. Back in the day, not so easy. You got to go to a bar. Maybe you walk up to somebody, you scare them. They give you a wrong phone number. How many girls do we know that were good-looking girls that would just go brush the guy off? Oh yeah, call me, and there would be a busy signal forever.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is now, if they did that, you could actually punch it in your phone, and you're busted right away. So all that stuff is gone, but they could just block you.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But great point though about you know, not even just meeting girls. Like now it's like you could be balls deep in someone, you know, 10 minutes after you meet them, because that's the rule that you make when you go on Twinder. Is that the one? Tinder?
I don't know. Twinder.
That's there you go. It's even better. Those are all
The
guaranteed threesomes on that one.
Ribo.
Like Ribo.
Let's start our own Twinder. I like it.
What do you think, Ryan? What are some of the differences for
Well,
you?
I mean, the whole phone thing is hilarious because that was the only way to get a hold of someone before. Like you had to call them and talk to them on the phone. You'd call and we didn't have answering machines. You just sit there and ring like 150 times. It would never stop ringing. You just sit there and you know, maybe they'll be home in like 4 hours. You just sit there as long as you want.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know,
and people used to show up at someone's house. You just knock on the door and hey, here I'm just showing up. If someone did that now, I'd be like, could you call before you show up? Like my dad shows up.
I was just gonna say it.
What are you doing showing up here? Like, can you
especially in a pandemic, even worse, but even before pandemic, get out of here.
It was the Larry David pop in. You would just pop
right.
in. It would be call. I'm gonna go call on Kevin or call on B. Actually, Ribo used to come call on my mom. Used to come hang out with my mom.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I actually would do that to Ryan's. I'd go visit Kevin and Ryan. They wouldn't be home, and I'd hang out with Marilyn and drink coffee. and it was great. It was like, well, I walked here. I must well hang out for the afternoon.
Drink coffee, and I've been thinking about starting smoking anyway. So hey, Mom.
I would just, as I walked in, this is great. It's cheaper than buying a pack.
But you know, there's so much you can go into on this. Like even when I was just thinking about Ahoff's house, I obviously think you're laughing about smoking. But the other thing that instantly comes to my head is listening to records, listening to albums, and even that. Like I remember, like you would not know, like if you got Circus Magazine and they would say the new Iron Maiden record is coming out in March. I remember specifically this for Caught Somewhere in Time, and it might not have been March. It might have been, I think it was September or something along those lines. I took the bus down to Records on Wheels every Saturday, hoping that this would be the week.
Right.
You know, and you would go in and do you have Iron Maiden Summertime? No. Do you know when it's coming in? Sometime this month. Like that would be the extent of the you know details. And I'll never forget when I walked in and I remember hearing Heaven Can Wait and not knowing the song, but knowing this is Iron Maiden. This is the new Iron Maiden. It's here. It's here. It's here. Even that like is such a lost art of not knowing every single thing, going to a rock show and not knowing what the set list, because you couldn't go to setlist.com and read what they had played the previous night.
That's true. Yeah, and especially with people going to filming every concert and stuff like that, so you know what's happening. You can see the stage. There's so much more. Same with like imagine stand-up comedians. You know they're working their stuff out. They got these jokes, and you've already seen them all if you want because someone's already posted it online or whatever. Like there's so much of that kind of stuff that you don't get that element of surprise like we used to get. Right?
We get a lot of surprises.
Yeah.
You know, I was along those lines. I was talking to Lars. They when they were doing the Metallica Mondays during the pandemic, which we're still in, but for about 22 weeks, they're probably thinking, "Fuck, man, enough of this shit already." But they would show a gig from a certain time frame, and they showed the last show of the Damaged Justice tour, which was the Justice for All tour, and it was in like Seattle, and they played "Am I Evil?" Check this out, with James on drums, Kirk on bass, Jason on guitar, and Lars on vocals.
Right.
And you're watching it, and like, dude, is it great? No. Is it cool? Yes. But you're watching Lars like, my mother was a witch. She was fucking burned alive. And he's running like a front man from side to side because that's the first time he's been. And it was really fun to watch. But you could also tell if that was nowadays, they would just get destroyed by this. And I asked him about it. He said, you have to understand it was a different time then. The only people that saw this were the 15,000 people in the arena. And when it was done, it was left there. You would never see it or hear it again. So you could do stuff like that and have some fun, because when you're in the heat of the moment, you're going, this is great. Lars is on vocals. And then now you would be judging it, going, well, that sounds like shit. Why would they fuck around like that? You know?
Yeah, right.
Everyone's got an opinion.
Well, it's tough too because I watch these like old Buddy Rich videos and stuff, and he just kills it every time. But to actually be there like 10 feet from the guy would be a total different thing where it would really blow your mind. You know what I mean?
Sure.
People are desensitized now. You watch the most amazing thing, people doing flips or whatever, jumping off buildings, whatever crazy crap they do, you know, in these flying suits and stuff like that. If you're actually there and see someone fly by your window, that's a whole different story.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I know. I always feel the kids, the people, that anybody, I guess, 1993 is when the internet really came out. Okay, that's when they had about 30%, 20% of the information they have right now, and it was dial-up. So 93, so we're talking almost 30 years, I guess.
27 years,
27 years. So 30 years. Anybody that's around in the internet and cell phones, they didn't have the fun we had. We really did have a great time and could get away with everything and all that. So the internet has changed a lot, but pre-internet again, to get information is my biggest source. You know, I don't know, for internet, I'm constantly looking at it, reading about stuff always. But that was always the Encyclopedia Britannica. And it was that nerdy Canadian actor who looked like Mo from The Pursuit of Happiness. And
that's why you pulled that up.
Right. And they would have door-to-door salesmen that would come around and they would sell families encyclopedias. And those salesmen were driving Cadillacs. They were making some money.
Yeah.
That's how you had to learn information, was reading these gigantic textbooks. And they didn't, I'm sure they didn't have anything close to what the internet has. Right. So yeah, it's very interesting, the times that we live in, what we had.
Well, I mean, and that's a great point. Like encyclopedia. It's funny because when you see Dave sent a picture of that guy, and I didn't know what you were talking about. I thought you were saying that the guy was a doppelganger for you. And I was laughing that, hey, Mo Berg looks like you. Like, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. That's on my dating profile. I'm like, I don't put my picture up, but I look like Mo Berg from Pursuit of Happiness. Not today. From 40 years ago.
And that's the thing, too. Like, encyclopedia salesmen were really pissed when the internet came out because they were done. They were fucked off. But another I used to hang out. Like,
somebody should do a documentary on them. Oh, the times they had. They're just all down and out. The band broke up. I miss Britannica Encyclopedia.
Yeah. But I remember, like, I used to hang out at the library. Like, and it wasn't a nerdy thing. You would just go hang out at the library and what kind of horror books do you have? Or what kind of, like, you know, mythology or strange monsters or rock and roll? Like, I learned, that's why, like, I'm such a trivia guy to this day. Like, I was reading about, you know, 40s Tarzan movies and 50 Charlie Chan and, you know, Elvis movies from the 60s. Like, anything I could find, I would just go to the library and come out with like 15 books. Like, that was a really big day out at the park, and you would actually read all this shit. And that's one of the things that really bothers me, is that I used to read so much. I was voracious with my reading. You know, I was living in Mexico, and there was 2 channels, and they were both in Spanish. And what are you going to do? Listen to music and read. And now I force myself. I always have a book on the go, but sometimes these things take fucking 6 months to read, because
I know
I'll read 2 pages, then go online or go do this or whatever. And it's very strange to think that, like, books even are becoming a thing of the past, which is really crazy when you really think about it.
Very crazy. And it's interesting too, because of the, you know, some say that having limitations is really breeds creativity, right?
Right.
So back when we were younger, we only had like 3 channels, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You go to the TV and you turn on 3 channels, and it's the middle of the day. There's nothing on. So what do? You go outside and you play.
Yeah, you go outside, right?
You know, you read some books, right? Like, and I remember we didn't have remote controls and stuff. I remember I used to lie down in front of the TV, and then I'd use my foot to, like, turn that
grab it with the toe. Yeah.
And there's only 4, and you would turn the channel, like, click, click.
Yeah. It went to 0. It went to U to I don't know what
I know. And one of those channels had to be that stupid Environment Canada one that was just the same logo with the temperature. It's like, what a waste of a
That's right.
And there's so much stuff to talk about. We're passing from subject to subject, but even, and this, I'll bring this up. One of those 4 channels was the French channel. And on a Friday night, if you were lucky, you would see a tit. One tit.
He scores.
He scores.
Stay up all night waiting for that nipple.
All night. And you would be waiting. Like, you know, if somebody's dad had a porno mag, it was like everyone would gather around. If the Gooj had, you know, Swedish erotic porno, like, everyone gather around.
Gather around, all you clowns.
And to see boobs back then, like, it was a rare thing, you know. And that's like, nowadays it's like, gosh, I mean, Pornhub is it's at the flick of the switch. when we were 15, like you had to really be smart and be really creative to see boobs. It was a hard thing to see.
Do you remember when I renovated my bathroom in Calgary? It must have been renovated in about 1987 before I re-renovated it. So I texted Chris. I was just in a panic. I said, some pervert used to live here. Some pervert used to live here. I opened up the cabinets and somebody had hidden like a Penthouse or Playboy magazine in there from 1987, from the date that they did the renovation. And that happened a lot, by the way. It wasn't a hiding spot, but it's like if you ever renovate your place, sometimes someone will put a newspaper in there from the year that the house was built or whatever. So I got this Penthouse magazine, and I text Chris. I go, some pervert was living here. And his best reply ever, I don't remember, he's like, you should put your hard drive in there.
Hey, some pervert was living here. Some pervert's living there now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, at that time, it was just your floppy disk.
Good. Hey, Vic 20 floppy disk. It would take 45 minutes to load a game, to play a video game, and these kids have everything instant. They can just talk, and Alexa's at their service.
I know, that's kind of funny because we had all those. Oh, nice. We had all those early computers when they first came out. We had computer class in elementary where you'd go in and you'd have to write like command or run, and then you'd spend like 20 minutes doing something, and then a picture, like a stick figure of a guy would come up or whatever. Yeah. We had like Atari, ColecoVision.
Yeah.
Intellivision. We had Intellivision. It was great. And I remember we got the Atom computer at one point, which was like the high tech.
Is that Vic 12?
I don't know. It was actually made by Coleco, but they actually had instead of a floppy disk, it actually had, or hard disk that they had at the time, like some of those cool ones like Commodore 64. It had a tape drive in there. And I remember doing, we were so, like me, like as you said, I just got a iPhone like not too long ago. I had a flip phone up until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I was behind the times back then too. I was in university writing university papers on an Atom computer. I remember it was like 5 a.m. and I was still living at home. I was writing university papers, and I went to like save it, and it kept fast forwarding and rewinding. And it's like trying to find space on the cassette to like to store this. And I was like,
oh, that's great.
Had to print it out.
And then the cassette gets all twisted and you got to put a pencil in there. Like nobody knows this shit anymore. These kids, they got it so easy.
My first year, so I went to college, Red River, in 88 to 90. So exactly right. 88 to 89, 89 to 90. 88 to 89, we were still using fucking typewriters to do our paper. Bing, but you weren't allowed to use whiteout. So if you made one mistake, you had to fucking start over again. They would not accept mistakes, or your paper wouldn't be accepted. And I remember it was always a Sunday night, and it was always fucking Degrassi, and it was always Kids in the Hall. And I'd be watching typical, I got like 18 things to type for class, and I'd be watching like, crush your head. Fuck.
Hashtag sorry, Chad, a different way, right?
And then 89 to 90, they brought in computers, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is great. But they only had them in the school, in the computer room. They had like 20 of them, so you had to book a time to go in and write your shit out on the computers. Like, think that's 1990. That's 30 years ago. It's not that long ago. You know
what they had just before computers too? The electric typewriter. You remember that?
Like a word processor, right?
You basically would type in. You could type in like 2 or 3 sentences digitally, and then press enter, and then it would type that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You could edit the few, like just look it over 2 sentences, then you type that, and then you can go.
Stephen King has a story. It's probably the most 80s story that he has. It's called Word Processor of the Gods, which whatever he writes in this word processor comes true. And you just think like if you were a big King fan now, looking at it, it'd be like reading a book in the 80s that says, quail, feather, and ink of the gods. But yeah, but what, a few other things I was going to say about the porno mags. I remember I was a paper boy, and one of our former sponsors, Bigelow's Drugs, literally would go in, and this is how bad it was. I would go in, make sure that Mrs. Bradshaw Gloves' mother wasn't looking, and I would steal gloves. I stole the Madonna Penthouse in my paper bag.
I forgot she did that. Oh, that's funny.
And it was a big deal when she did it, right? But you could, and I remember hiding in the bathroom after I bought a ticket for The Man with Two Brains by Steve Martin.
Yeah.
In the bathroom, and then summoning up all my guts to go walk into Bo Derek Tarzan instead. Because it was too, you had to be PG-13 or whatever the rating was. And I was only 11 or 12 years old. So sneaking into that movie and just sitting there being terrified that some guy was going to kick me out, and seeing Bo Derek's boobs on the big screen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Well, and then we graduated to hanging out at that Village Inn dirtbag place in Westwood, because what's interesting, I've been talking to people about this lately. We live in a
talking to Grease Monkeys.
I've been talking to Grease Monkeys. We've been talking to people, and we lived in a real suburban area. There was nothing really special about it. It wasn't low down, and yet we had a corner strip joint. It was a bowling alley / strip joint. It was so ridiculous, and we would grow the little nicotine. Everybody smoked nicotine-stained mustache, the Corey Kelly little green mustache, and the guy would look at you, go, "Oh, table for 4," and you just go, "Whatever." Come on.
I honestly think there's enough material there. We could do an episode called The Ville, because like you said, we used to fucking hang out there from the time we were 14 to we were 19, because they also had an arcade in there. I remember going bowling there for school. So it was bowling, arcades,
and
peelers, and just great times. So we will do an episode called The Ville for sure.
Let's do it.
We could do another episode about, discovering, boobs and finding out how you would get all that stuff.
Bo Derek's tits. I like sex.
I love sex.
Didn't we use that on something just recently? You had a picture of her. Well, one of your first crushes was Bo Derek, right?
No,
I should have been on there. Should have been.
Yeah.
Bo Derek.
Good call. Good call.
Goose call.
No, Wonder Woman.
Linda Carter. And I had Farrah Fawcett, but
right.
Guys,
Smurfette.
Once again, we've got so much time and things we can talk about. This has been a great conversation, but our Winnipeggers motto, we try and keep it at 30 minutes. That's where we get the hot ratings from. But there's a lot to talk about here, and this is good, because I was starting to think I got nothing else to talk about with these fucking guys. But that's not the case.
Me too. I was like, this stuff is becoming pretty stock, but it's not. We got stories. We got.
It'll never end. We've known each other for 30 years. Well, Chris and I for 47 years, and we haven't run out of things to talk about yet. So
it's actually being Speewee 35 years now. It's getting pretty crazy. But
what did you talk about when you were 1 to 5 years old? You can knock 5 years off there. Goo goo gaga and just spit up on each other. Shout out to the Promenade Cafe in Winnipeg.
Don't forget. Thanks, Dave, for bringing us back on track. Thanks to Sean Branson and his lovely wife, Connie Branson. And Branson, you say that you did not steal my Nasty Class tape. Nasty Class was a band that played at the zoo. We used to go see them all the time. They were great, and I recorded it, bootlegged it with their permission, and lent it to Sean Branson, who then took it and promptly lost it in his car, which then conveniently started on fire. I want my Nasty Class tape back, but in the meantime, make sure to check out the promenadeathome.com. Promo code is Winnipeggers. Look, Dave even printed it out. It's a great French restaurant. You can get souffle, French fries, and what was Dave's dish?
Chocolate mousse too.
Some organic local trout.
No, that was not. You said poo-poo platter or something. What was your French food that you said?
Oh, I just said poop de grass, which is the dog from Bugs Bunny, who they try to get to speak French. He just goes, poop de grass. It would never fly today. I love the French people. I still can't speak it.
Poop the grass is pretty funny because it's a double entendre.
Look at the quality of Winnipeggers, guys. Come on, this is
we're bringing you some high class stuff. You guys are in the listen. If you're in the Manitoba area, go down to the Peg. Check out the Promenade at Promenade is the name of the restaurant. Promenadeathome.com. Promo code Winnipeggers. Great time, guys. Keep the ratings coming, guys. We didn't even talk about Speewee Memes. Does he have anything going on? We'll have to pull.
Maybe we'll save it for the next episode. There's lots going on. Yeah, those guys are great. Love them. We love our fans.
We love our fans. Thanks to all you guys for checking us out and all around the world. And have a great week. Oh, sorry, that's not the one I was supposed to put up there.
All around the world. That was from Porky's. We used to have a cheater card that went into the coaxial cable, And outside of those 3 free
Right.
channels we got in Winnipeg, we would get like Porky's 24/7 and movies like that.
There's the Puerto's channel. We'll get into that.
Porky's.
Puerto's. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Stay safe.
Phrases.
Phrases.